Greetings, everybody. I'm in Amsterdam at the moment. I just finished up a week of traveling around Europe, well, Germany and Holland, getting footage for and doing some research for Walpurgis Night, the next volume, as well as getting some footage for upcoming documentaries that will be on this channel here, open source occult TV. So please subscribe if you haven't already. I needed to get out of Ireland for a few days anyway. I needed a break from the place with all the shit that went on with the Tomb stuff. And before you start any shit in the comments about Amsterdam, I don't drink. I can't fucking abide weed or weed smokers. And I'm pretty sure I can get laid for free if I want. So comment or joke away. But I was traveling the other day somewhere, and I had this amazing flashback, and it's an important one. It's one of the signs of becoming awakened, becoming spiritually different, becoming psychologically different, that I don't think anyone has ever spoken about. I'm not aware of any videos out there, and it may be mentioned in books, and maybe I don't know, but it was explained to me what it was. I'm not completely sure of the reason. I have my own other reasons for it. But what it is that when people start waking up, they get ignored. Now, they don't get ignored because they're talking bollocks. That's a different kind of thing. When some people, when they first wake up, especially when they have a political awakening, it's all yeah, conspiracy, and they put their friends and family off. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a different thing. I'm talking about people who may be having a quiet internal spiritual awakening or psychological awakening, or wherever you want, a consciousness expansion. There's a better word to use for it, inside themselves. And it's very prominent with men, young guys especially. I was kind of always awake from the time I was a baby, really. In the pram, I think I was woken up. Yeah. But it really hit me when in terms of study-wise, it was when I was about 22, 23. So this is the late 80s. And I was in a pretty hardcore New York, Lower East Side, industrial goth, post-punk scene. And one of the main topics of discussion was conspiracies. That's what I find amazing. It wasn't until the X-Files came along that conspiracies became taboo. Before that, they were just a normal discourse of discussion you would have, like those historical what ifs. What if Hitler won the war? What if Napoleon won at Waterloo? That's what the kind of people who discuss conspiracies, that's what they were like. It really came out of the previous generation, who had seen JFK being killed and knew something wasn't right. And then they had Watergate. And then they saw things in Northern Ireland like Bloody Sunday and a few other things around the world, like the Propaganda Due in Italy and the murder of Pope John Paul I. So by the time I was talking about it, it was normal discussion. It was not anything weird. And even magazines today who slag off conspiracy theorists like Rolling Stone and Mother Jones and Utney Reader, they were all filled with conspiracy stuff. How soon they forget. It was like 911 changed everything. 9/11 changed it all. Conspiracy became a taboo, and a big part of that was pre-programming people via things like the X-Files. So everyone, if you were a stupid, crazy Mulder, and the thing was always tied to aliens and Elvis and Bigfoot. So if you say something like, there's a horrific genocide going on in East Timor, and I just read an article by Noam Chomsky in Mother Jones about it. And the reason why no one cares about what's happening in East Timor is because there's no Western interest there. Oh, really? Come on. And, they say things like, oh, it's aliens, What, with the aliens? Is Elvis out there? That all started with the fucking X-Files. Now, I love the X-Files TV show, don't get me wrong. I taught Agent Mulder and Scully. The two actors were fantastic. Some of the stories were brilliant. The least interesting episodes were always the ones to do with aliens. Do you ever notice that? All the best episodes had to do with had to do with anything but that. Things like doing hybrid animals and human experimentation and putting growth hormones in food that fucking up communities. But so anyway, I'm in Europe and I'm traveling around, and I've got some great stuff. I was in places. See, anyone can do London, Paris, and Washington. I'm looking for the occult stuff, and a lot of it is off. And I'm not just talking about Amsterdam. I'm not just talking about Berlin or Frankfurt or anything like that. It's in other places. It's in the occult is not simply the conspiracy Illuminati part of the occult leftovers from 1776. It goes much deeper into history. It affects things, everything from art, architecture, a lot. You're going to get it all from me. You're not going to get this, boom, 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 boom. Here's the all-seeing eye, and I don't do that shit. Well, I do, but I don't do it that way. I actually, another reason I'm here is this is like a fucking drug deal. I was meeting an antiquarian book dealer in this hotel room today. So it was like some people in an Amsterdam hotel, people do drug deals or gun deals. I was doing an antiquarian book deal, buying and selling, trying to get my hands on some alchemical texts. And I got one of them anyway. The other two, he wouldn't part with them, and I couldn't afford them anyway. And I gave him an old English book, on essay writing that he was after. He wasn't into occult himself. He was just into antiquarian books. But anyway, back to the subject. Sorry, I'm wandering here. I'm just so excited about some of the stuff I captured on camera for the upcoming films. Yes. So I was waking up, and I was at the same time too. I was getting very fucking heavy into magic and the occult. And New York has a huge. Well, back then it had a huge occult scene. There was several major occult shops where you get occult supplies, books, and meet these amazing characters. As well as it was tied in heavily with the underground music scene, which I was, up to my tits in, and the big goth kind of scene and all that, which I was heavily involved in, and electronic music, the sort of like dark end of it, the industrial end of it. And I was really heavily into reading the Crowley stuff, really heavily into the Golden Dawns and things. Like I never joined one thing ever. But at the same time too, loving every minute of it. This is what I'm always telling you about. When I do these subjects, I don't approach them from a place of fear and paranoia. I approached them from a place of, this is fantastic. This is amazing knowledge. I can now read the world in a different way. This is what I'm doing with you with these films. I'm allowing you to explore the world in a different way. And so I was just filled with all this wonder and this wonderful stuff. And I kind of fell out of the music scene, and I went to study in night school. I was studying graphic design. And I shaved on I no longer had that. I got blue hair, and the shaving on the side all gone. I'm still got fucked. I'll always have fucking mad hair, but I looked respectable, and I looked like a regular fella in society, no different than any others. I know, I was a fairly good-looking young guy. That's what women were always telling me. Yeah, when this happened, and this is true, people wouldn't sit next to me on the buses or the trains. Has that ever happened to you when you were waking up? You'd be on a bus or a train, and you'd be sitting on your seat by the window, and every single seat would fill up, and you'd be the last vacant seat, and there'd be people down, and they would stand on the bus rather than sit down beside you, and you start getting fucking paranoid. You think like you smell or something like that. That's part of the waking up process. I'll explain to you in a bit. Another one was I couldn't cook at home because I didn't have a proper cooking facility. I didn't have a proper kitchen and a tiny apartment. So I used to eat out all the time. New York at the time was full of cheap diners and stuff like that. And I found it increasingly difficult to get served. Waiters and waitresses walk right past me like I didn't exist. And it was almost like people didn't see me. And one of my friends, the guy that I told, well, he wasn't a friend. He was sort of like a mentor / weirdo. I kind of knew, and I'm attracted to these kind of oddballs because I'm one myself, probably. And so he was telling me, oh, he's a magician as well, and he was saying, oh yeah, this is even the Buddhists talk about this. You're vanishing. You're disappearing in this reality. You're disappearing. But I said that doesn't make any sense. The seat next to me is empty. And he said to me, "What do you?" This guy was called Marcus, and he says, "What, Thomas? What do you think is causing it?" And I says, Marcus, it's almost like there's another person sitting in the seat next to me, and they don't sit down beside me because someone is sitting there. And you fucking nailed it. When you become awake, you literally split into two people, and your energetic space fills two parts. The part that's just woken up creates almost like an energetic body double. The old you, in order to keep in this reality, stays here. These people subconsciously don't sit beside you, not because you're ugly or you're weird or you're smelly, but because on the quantum consciousness level, they think the seat beside you is occupied. Now, do you think a fuck about that? I bet many of you who are waking up, watching this video, had this experience on public transport, where no one would sit. What the fuck is going on? And you get really paranoid about it. And then, as soon as I realized what was happening, guess what happened? It stopped like that. And then people would sit beside me on the bus and the train. Even though I was actually getting more fucking mad into the shit at that point, but at that stage. Now, this was a huge revelation for me. And I meant to make a video about this last year when some chap had mentioned on my Facebook page, as there's something fucking wrong with me. Everybody on the bus, every seat on the bus was filled except mine, and people were standing. And I've said to them, well, that's because you've created like your energetic space and your conscious space, and your sense of self has expanded so much that I didn't have time to explain it. And I said to him I'd make a video, and now here's the video. Finally, I'm a busy fucker, so it happens. Yeah, it's the coolest thing, but it does stop when you realize what's going on. It only continues as long as you know it's a mystery, and it's the secret to success in society. And here's something, everything goes back to magic in the end. Well, consciousness, everything's back to consciousness in the end. If you start seeing yourself as a freak, you will, in a pathological or a negative sense, you will become that freak to everyone around you. If you start seeing yourself as a maverick, that's me, isn't it? A maverick, you will attract people to you. Look at me. Look, I know I get a handful of fucking head cases who stalk me all over the internet, but they're all mentally ill. They're either heading for a rope out of the ceiling or a fucking straitjacket. There's nowhere else for them. Any person with half a brain can see their bonkers. They'll never have anyone sit beside them on the bus or on the train, that they're destined to self-destruction. But yeah, this is interesting. People always remark, is like my Facebook page is full of like hundreds of gorgeous women. Well, I'm not a fucking womanizer. I'm not a pimp. I'm not a kind of a fucking Jack the Lad. I never have been. I joke around about it on my Monday morning jokes like I always have, doing the comedy stuff. But that's not really how I'm a very kind of private, laid back, easygoing, kind of person. I've never been the type to go around hitting on women, but yet women have always flocked to me. Why? Because the same reason they flocked to Crowley, the same reason they flocked to rock stars, the same reason they flocked to fucking Henry Kissinger, for fuck's sake. When you discover the secret of owning your uniqueness and seeing it not as a poison or as a barrier to social inclusion, but as a gift, it's just like a magnetic polarity effect happens, and you start attracting people to you. It doesn't matter. I'm 52 now, going on 53. I'm a fucking old fucker, and I still fucking get women like in their fucking early 20s sending me emails talking about how much they found, and they're not these they're real fucking with people I verify for it. I just politely tell I'm old enough to be your dad. Fuck off, nicely. Not fuck off, but I'm old enough to be your dad. Go find someone your own age. I'm not a dirty old man. There's plenty of them out there for you. But look at me. I'm not hardly Mr. fucking gorgeous. But yeah, like I attract people, men and women, to me. Why? Because I'm a maverick, and I understand that me being a maverick, rather than me hiding it, rather than me being intimidated by it, and rather than me being fearful by it, I absolutely fucking love it. And what that creates is an almost like a magnetic flux around yourself, and people find you interesting. They find you interesting because you talk to them in a matter of, I do talk about people, things in the most intense subjects, in the most matter-of-fact way that people will go, Jesus, that's interesting. Fuck me, that's really fascinating. I never run around waving my arms, my hands in the air, and that's the secret. Brevity and modesty and politeness in delivering these things is the way to go. A direct approach, and don't let anyone bother you. And also, you will attract. You see, another thing that stops you from waking up is the Renfields and the golems, the meat golems. You see, a lot of people are afraid to come out in public because they see like these wankers who attack me. But once somebody of worth, somebody who isn't a dead-eyed cult freak, my queen, I'm serving you, my queen, or who worship some fucking lunatic like that, or some other fucking maggot who, all these maggots, they're all obviously whack jobs to any insane person. The day someone of worth attacks me, I'll stop this. The day someone, a human being of worth attacks me, and this is what happens. You set off when you start waking up, and then you start having a message in a maverick way to bring to people. You attract the animals, you attract the golems, the Renfields, and they're as clear as day. I mean, they're so pathetic. They don't even know how pathetic they are. They don't bother me at all. I find them fucking funny. It's like, feed me, bitches. You dumb bitch. You dumb bitch. Feed me. What, bitch boy? Come on, bitch boy. Make another video slagging me off. That proves nothing. Feed me, bitch boy. I want you. I want you, bitch boy. I want your life energy. I want your life energy. I want to eat you up and suck you fucking dry because you gave yourself as a gift to me. Come on, bitch boy. And that's how it is. I couldn't give a fuck. Why? Because I'm a maverick. And guess what? I'll never have an empty seat on a bus next to me or a train.